welcome to the Wednesday edition of Runescape Weekly. We have an interesting lineup for you today. It's not a very long docket. We have Pyrnassius' patch notes, which of course is notoriously either too long or too short. We love it. Then we have the TLDW of the month ahead, and we have an open discussion for Nex, Angel of Death, and the future demise of skilling, as we see more things introduced into the game to further devalue the skilling market. We'll talk about that as well, and then we're going to pretty much wrap it up for today. And I'll give my explanation and reasoning as to my feeling on Nex and whatnot as that comes along. Obviously, if you've been hanging out on our Discord, discord.runeweek.com, you're pretty familiar with how I feel about Jagex and, certain staff members blatantly saying one thing and then doing the opposite. So we'll get to that. Obviously, we're going to be talking about integrity and what that means as somebody who stands in front of a camera and talks to thousands of people. Looking at you, JMOD team that does the Q&A session. So we'll be talking about that. Of course, we have an actual Q&A session to cover the month ahead, and that's probably when I'll talk about that. So I got lots to kind of give my opinion on. I wanted to make sure we had a decently balanced team today, though. So we brought in David, who will be talking about Nex. They are highly skilled in PVM and currently are working their way up to be able to help people learn different bosses as well as leech Nex and get the new Nex kills and whatnot. So they've been doing it non-stop for the past few days. So they're going to have some good information coming there from David as well. So we're going to pretty much let him be the star of the show today. Excuse me. Let's get that shit out right now. I haven't talked much today, so starting to stir up all the vocal cords there. Is it sad when the first people I talk to in the day are over the internet? I don't know. But yeah, I haven't used my vocal cords today, so I'm going to give those a second to warm up. Let me unmute Discord here. Discord is now unmuted. Hey, DX.
How you going, Mage?
How you doing? I'm dying over here all of a sudden, so I'm bringing in backup.
I'm the one that should be dying. It was real pissing hot the other day.
Yeah, you've had some crazy heat waves, haven't you?
Yeah, and I think we've got another 5 days of temperatures are at least above 38,
Wow.
which is going to be about 108 to 110 degrees.
It's been
in
so
Fahrenheit.
hot there. You've been learning Fahrenheit recently, it seems. You've been able to quickly convert to Fahrenheit.
Yeah, I figured that might be a good idea because obviously you don't go by Celsius in the US. We go by Celsius here in Oz.
I really wish we did. Fahrenheit is such a stupid, outdated system. We also have, as I was saying earlier, Entry Tank / David. How you doing, David? We'll try. He's been having some connection
I used to
issues
live
this
there.
morning. Yeah. Glad to
Yeah,
hear it.
I'm almost there, like 1 minute away.
Okay, cool. So we're still in the pre-show, so no big deal. Pretty much just talked about what we're going to cover. It's a pretty short show, but we're going to pretty much jump into the PSAs, DX. If you'd like to go ahead and read the PSAs momentarily, I am going to start the show up first. We're going to do that,
That's
though.
a good idea.
We're going to
send you
Do I
a
want you to-
timestamp.
Yeah, probably. I'm just going to have you do the PSAs, then I'll do Pyrnassius' patch notes of the month ahead, and then we'll jump right into that open discussion. Let's see here. I don't even have a live streaming tab open yet. Let me see. It is currently 9. Just do 10 minutes for me, and that would be perfect.
Okay, where we got 10 minutes.
Probably get the correct music loaded up and everything.
There you go.
I'm okay. I know how to podcast. It's been hasn't even. I'd like to say it's been a while, but it hasn't. It's been like last week. Let's see here, dude. What can I do? We have. Where's my intro music? Where are you? Epic music. I miss you. There you are. Okay, cool. That's loaded up, and we can pretty much get the show started.
Yeah.
All right. Let us begin in 3, 2, 1. You're listening to RuneScape Weekly for 2/1/2017. I'm your host Magebit with over 15 years of RuneScape experience. Joining me today is Dxthelb and David. And on today's show, PSAs, Pyrnassius' patch notes for the 30th of January, TLDW for the month of February, and an open discussion on Neck's Angel of Death and the further demise of skilling. Thank you for tuning into this edition of RuneScape Weekly, and enjoy the show. Welcome back for your Wednesday edition of RuneScape Weekly. Magebit here. We have a truncated show, but a show for you nonetheless. So hope you enjoy it. We'll be talking about mostly the month ahead in February, as well as Next the Angel of Death, and what its impact has on the skilling market, things like that nonsense. And I'm going to try not to lose my voice here. I love how the second I go to record, I just can't talk anymore. But anyway, we got Dxthelb joining us today. How you doing, DX?
I am absolutely buggered. I'll tell you what, it's been a very long day for me today/yesterday because it's like 1:15 in the morning out here right now. Obviously I bowl on Wednesday nights, but I was working on a flip side video, which is my own spin on the TLDW, which just happened overnight. I hadn't quite finished working out the script when I left originally, so when I got back here, I was working like a madman, going through all the key points, and then recording, writing down a script for it, recording the audio, doing the editing, and just putting it all together. I managed to get it all online at about 10 to 1 this morning. So basically, as soon as I got home from my league bowling, I was straight on the computer, straight doing everything on this thing.
Wow, impressive. So you've had quite the night.
3.5 hours. Yeah, it was 3.5 hours to fully edit that one.
Oh, wow. I have not much to say. Pretty much with the game update on Monday, I have not been playing any longer. So, I've been playing some GTA 5, and that's pretty much what I've been doing with my gaming time is GTA 5, and I'm working on some stuff that I can't reveal right now as well, but that's where my time has been going for the most part. But it hasn't been going to RuneScape, that's for sure. Considering they apparently just don't care about skillers anymore. So we'll talk about that later, of course. That's pretty much what I've been doing. Got nothing really to say about RuneScape, unfortunately, because I haven't been playing. But if I was playing, I would probably be approaching, I think it was like, I was coming pretty close to 70 million total divination XP, but what does it matter anymore, right? So yeah, we also have David joining us today as a special guest. How's your connection doing? Have you made it back to the house yet, David? Or... Go ahead. I'm gonna take that as a no. And we will continue into probably the first topic here, unless DX you want... Oh, I'm sorry, DX, PSAs. PSA me, bro.
Okay, the minigame spotlight is on Fishing Trawler. The Circus is currently located in Lumbridge. You have until the 5th of February to sign up to the 2017 Premier Club, and you also have until the 12th of February to use your Phantom doubloons from the Pirate event.
I liked that Pirate event. That was a good event. I managed to get a few extra little boxes at the end with some, just bonus XP dumping into Prayer, which I probably won't bother with now, but whatever. Let's see here. Moving on, we do have Pern's patch notes. We don't have a Pern, unfortunately. I wanted to get a Pern today, but he was not available. So we will jump directly into his patch notes, and we'll see what happens. So let me just quickly get this up on screen here, and we can get this show on the road. XSplit is behaving a little better today, so that's a good thing. Honestly, there's too much black here. I can't tell where this begins and ends. So I'm just going to play the video and try and figure that out as it plays. Yay!
G'day all, Pyrnassius back once again for our news and updates for the 30th of January 2017, and a very combat heavy one this week. Obviously, Next the Angel of Death has arrived in game, and you'll probably see that I only have the news page up, and no footage of me fighting it because hey, I can barely do normal Next, let alone this one. I am hoping to get out there on the weekend and give it a go, but then anyway, let's go on and see exactly what is happening. We've got a real treat in store for PVMers this week. Get ready to fight next with the full power of the ancient elements at her disposal and claim some fantastic new rewards. Now, how to start? You'll need to, again, to use your frozen key to enter the ancient prison in the God Wars dungeon, in the lobby area with the Zerosian kill count of at least 40, or wearing ancient ceremonial robes. There is a new hidden door on the south wall of the bank lobby area. The requirements are obviously RuneScape membership. You will need a minimum of 60 agility and 60 strength, but you'll probably need a lot more than that to get a kill. The high combat levels and your best gear are recommended. So what do? Gather your friends and head over to the ancient prison to face next in this all-new boss encounter. We wanted this to feel like the classic boss fights you remember, so there's no 10-player cap or kill chaining here. Create or join an instance with your tight-knit bossing group or a full-on mass, your choice. From then on, you're on your own. Have fun discovering what Nex is capable of now that her power is fully unleashed. Now, when they say here up the full on mass group, I think it's a maximum of 50 players you can have in there, but still, that is a lot. What I do love here, you're on your own. You've got to go in there and work it out. There was no sort of preview of them going in there, fighting it, and showing exactly what everything is. So that is really good there. The rewards. There'll be new curses, a battle robe overwise, and a swath of ancient lore, all up for grabs should you succeed. There's more to discover too, so take down the Angel of Death and load up on riches. One of the rewards are now a T92 best in slot two-handed mage weapon, I believe it was. I know it's T92, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it was a mage weapon, but anyway, we'll wait and see what comes out there. A big thanks to Mod Raman, who led the design and development of today's update in his personal projects time. Have fun conquering the latest brutal boss encounter from the RuneScape team. So again, this was all by Mod Raman, who did it on his it was one of his tap projects. So there you go there. Live streams this week. They will be doing one again on Tuesday, January 31st, 5 PM game time. It is February, the month ahead. Next, Angel of Death is the start of a series of interesting dev-led projects coming up your way in the next few months. Tune in to the Q&A on Tuesday to find out more about what we've got planned for the month, including information about the 15-year Veterans Cape, Double XP Weekend, Game Jam, sorry about that, and loads of other good stuff. Friday, February 3rd at 9 PM game time, the community time with Mod Shawnee. He'll be back to showcase some of the updates that you've got to look forward to next week. On Sunday, the February the 5th at 7 PM game time, as always, PVM with Mod Lee. And there is a Snapchat takeover this week with Mod Wolf on Thursday, 2nd of Feb. Get on there, have a look at Snapchat. He is taking over the RuneScape account for the day, so you can check out a day in his working life. So that is it for that. Let's head straight over onto the patch notes now. And as always, if you do encounter gameplay bugs or graphical glitches, be sure to report them. So first up, skills, D&Ds and minigames. The daily challenge to create 184 fire runes can now be completed on a free world. In other updates, the unlock on all permanent effects from Death's Door option on the Trim Requirements tab of the Completionist interface now takes into account the latest Death's Door rewards. They're the ones that they added last week. Examining a player's Tiny Death Pet will now state how many Soul Reaper assignments they have completed. A quick chat bubble icon has been added for the Raids Puzzle quick chat message. And examining degraded tradable variants of player-owned ports armors will no longer show an incorrect cost if an interface is open. A few hotfixes last week. On the 23rd, the new Death Door rewards are now a requirement for the Trim to Completionist Cape. On the 24th, an issue which was causing the deathmatch lobby to occasionally allow PvP combat has been fixed. And also on the 24th, the Shadow Gorillas emote now uses the same camera shake effect as the Jungle Gorilla Pet. On ninja fixes, Provoke has been changed to be substantially more effective. The Destroy Empty Bowls option in the miscellaneous setting window has been modified to include pots, cake tins, pies, dishes and buckets. And players may now toggle the ability to have a legacy mode skin while using the non-legacy interface mode. Onto our NXT fixes, and there are some good ones here. They fixed some rendering issues / crashes that might appear on older drivers or graphics cards. They've improved the appearance of water at extreme camera angles, added support for the SSAO incompatibility graphics mode, added support for soft particles in compatibility graphics mode, fixed water refraction on compatibility graphics mode, fixed particles not interacting with bloom, and they fixed the protesting Edgeville guards. This also fixed the odd issues seen with stretching bones. And if you haven't seen that the odd stretching with the Edgeville guards, watch after I finish this. I did get some footage of those last week. I thought it was quite funny. So they have actually fixed that. So you can see it if you did miss out. Also, there is a new NXT game launcher update this as well, which will include the following. They've added an auto update feature to the NXT launcher, fully for Windows, partly for Mac, and not required for Linux. They've added the ability to open multiple clients on Mac, added a do not warn me again option to exiting the client when logging in, and the very best one at all, added a do not warn me again option on the graphics card malfunction warning. So that is it. That is your patch notes and updates for the 30th of the 1st. Nice short one this week. Happy RuneScaping to all. I will see you all next week, and as I said, I'll just play a little clip of that stretching issue, and until then, I'll see you next time. I was just down here making some Slayer rings. Need to get a few more siphons for my augmented equipment when I noticed a funny little glitch. If you have a look at the guards here, they're holding their shields up in the air above their heads. There's obviously some sort of glitch there, stretching their arms, but I'm standing over just over here making my rings and saw it and going, hang on, that looks really weird. So there it is, a little NXT glitch for you in-game. I might send it in, see if I can get the Game Breaker title and beat DX to it. But anyway, just a little funny one. Thought I'd tack that on the end here and let you all have a little bit of a laugh at that with me.
Excuse me. All right. There you have Pern's patch notes for the week. Thank you very much, Pern.
Pern, you're a cheeky bastard. I saw that. I saw you subbed at the end of that. Trying to get the Game Breaker title before I did. Oh, I am so salty that I still haven't got that yet.
Oh, yeah, that was good.
You know what? I want to play conspiracy theorist for a moment. I don't believe it was a glitch. I believe they were deliberately doing that to protest Donald Trump being elected US president.
I have nothing to say about that. Let's see here. So we got the TLDW here for February, the month ahead, which was a Q&A. If you can trust their answers, that is.
I think we might have David back now.
Excuse me. God damn. Why can't I just have a session where I just don't sneeze, don't cough, and I can just talk normally? Oh my god. Excuse me. So yeah, we have the February month ahead Q&A. You said David's back? Possibly?
Yeah. I
Hey.
think, do I sound okay?
You sound okay at the moment.
Great. Yeah, I'm back. I'm back in one place instead of walking around.
Fair enough.
Also, as I was walking around campus, I went from being connected to the internet to not to connect because
Hopping from
I have
network to
campus
network.
Wi-Fi on my phone, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it happens. Shit happens. Okay, cool. Well, we're going to be doing the February month ahead as well, and then we're going to move into the next discussion. You feel free to weigh in on any of this whatsoever. Just keep in mind, if you are going to comment on anything next related here, think about how much you'd rather save it for the next section, or if you think it fits into this section, because that's what I'm going to be trying to do as well here. They do speak on next a little bit because it just happened and they have to address things on it, but the majority of this, I think, is just February's layout here. But we are going to briefly touch on next the Angel of Death real quick, because that's where it starts here.
Sounds good.
So according to that, it says content for next the Angel of Death will eventually be devalued over time, but Virago won't become dead content as a result. So that's just the whole idea. And again, something that I want to get to in the next discussion is the the devaluation of old bosses when new bosses come into the game. Something obviously that just is a natural occurrence. We'll get to that. Drop rates need rebalancing due to a mistake, but they are now fixed to a comfortable rate. So again, that was, I think, in relation to the wands and orb drop rates that were like 1 in 40 originally.
Yeah.
I think they were turned into common drops or something.
They're-
At stage.
Only the wand it's fixed now. Only 33 wands have entered the game since release as of a couple hours ago.
And they were all people who tested. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I got it.
I'm joking. I'm joking. It just anyway. So additional rewards such as feats and titles can be added at a later date, so they're not in there as of right now. But they will be.
Yeah, the reason they said they weren't going to add titles at the moment is because they got too many titles at the moment.
That seems like a silly reason.
It does. It's a really bad reason because there aren't going to be any less titles later. In fact, there's always going to be more titles than there was.
Plus, titles are fun.
Titles are great. I love seeing unique titles throughout the game, unless there's some sort of like title space problem that they're like, we're running out of space for titles, and if that's the problem, they need to seriously think about upgrading their hardware. But it just seems a little bit silly to be like, there's too many titles. The more titles there are, the more diverse people can be with titles, and I think that's really cool.
Plus, the different colors, like the salty title looks so cool to me. The game breaker title looks incredible. Like, I think it's cool with what they've done with titles.
Don't get me started on the game breaker title. I'm the
DX,
owner of that who doesn't have it.
It looks so good. DX, like I would be so jealous of anyone who had it.
I would be too.
Yeah, that's why I'm jealous. That's why I'm actually jealous of Zenel.
By your genitals?
No, I love you, Zenel. I love you, Zenel.
So let's see here. We have some planned future updates for the month of February, including so Bank Bidders has been delayed slightly, they say, which I don't know what that means, but apparently it's not happening on its planned date, if there ever was one, which was, I think, just the month of February. So, okay. Boss Timer High Scores has no ETA at the moment. Name release will happen later in the month. It was going to happen at the beginning of the month. There's some snag on that. Shark Elite Skilling Outfit happens in March. And there's going to be a Sears graphical rework, it seems, in the form of a straw poll here. And it says, are you fine with us moving the courthouse to a city? Which, who cares? Who cares what the courthouse is? Put it in Varric or Falador or something.
Well, there was actually two quick polls regarding the Sears Village. I think they were also talking about Camelot as well, whether or not they should get rid of Camelot.
They should get rid of Camelot. It doesn't fit with the lore of the game.
Harley was salty when that came up.
Too bad she's not here to defend herself.
Yeah.
By the way, Mage, I just bought 25k incandescent energy to make some charge packs, and they bought 259 each. So I'm not sure.
I refuse to sell under 270.
Oh, okay, gotcha. But
they were 400 each back when divination, when invention was released. Obviously, they weren't going to stay there. But I'm not going to sell them below, like, 270, 265.
But they've been 260 for a while, right?
They have been sitting... What? They've been what, David?
Have they not been around 260 for a while?
I have been selling them at 280 for the past 4 months. I started selling them at 270 fairly recently, within the past month or so, just because bonus XP weekend's coming up soon, I assume, so that's affecting prices of things. And then I expect after double XP weekend them to probably fall to about 159 to 250 for about a month or so, which I will just not be selling them at all. Or that's what my plan would be, I would be hoarding them or just stocking them at those prices at the GE. And I would expect them to then sell in like mid-March ish at worst. Which is, fine. I have enough money that I can I can tie my money up like that. It's not an issue. But with this type of introduction into the game of just dumping more energy into the game, I feel like that's going to be a more permanent problem than something like a double XP weekend, where, I expected prices to fall in this time. This is another thing that's screwing with me, is I expected prices to fall right now, and now I'm having to have a hard time figuring out what's bonus XP weekend, what's market fluctuation, and what's because now there's just a new source of incandescent energy in the game, where, those players would normally be purchasing it, now they're getting it as drops, so I'm a little concerned about that. However, there's obviously... also to think about the amount of energy and the frequency of that energy, and these are things that I can't speak to on day 3.
Yeah, the last thing I will say, I had about 12k energies in the bank when I started grinding necks. Went down to 0 this morning because I ran out just from making portents and also making charges, and I just bought 100k on the G. Obviously only 25k now, but I put in an offer for 100k energies, and I expect to have used all of them as well by the end of the week. So I've gotten 0 energy drops actually from Nex, but I'm probably obviously an exception.
So it's something I have to kind of keep track of. But I'm not playing right now anyway, so it really, I don't care as much. So let's see here. February updates. So the update schedule is as follows, with the 6th of February being the 15-year Veterans Cape Invention update and Valentine's event. So definitely interesting. Right there is that I will definitely be logging in to get my Veterans Cape for sure. When they say Invention update, I am curious. We'll talk about that in a second here. The Valentine's update sounds like an excuse to get MTX into the game, so we'll talk about that as well. The 13th is the Valentine's timed event, aka the microtransaction version. Double XP weekend and / the Game Jam event. The 20th will be Skill Cape perks, and the 27th will be Mystery Quest. That piques my interest. So a quest right at the end of the month. That's pretty cool.
Wouldn't that be funny if the Mystery Quest was just called Mystery Quest?
Yeah, that would be interesting. As of
That'd
right
be like
now,
the ultimate troll.
as of right now, I've become a new update player. I am only logging in for new game updates. Until they decide to do something with skilling, that is how I am playing the game. It's not going to affect the show or anything, but it is going to affect how people reach me, because you will not be able to reach me in RuneScape anymore unless it is like the day of a game update or something and I'm trying it out. But I'm done with this, and I'll get to that in the next thing because I don't want to spoil this segment. But anyway, I'm really curious about that mystery quest. Ooh, yes. Anyway, 15-year anniversary cape will be obtainable from Hans in Lumbridge. Account must be at least 15 years old, and it will cost 150,000 GP, and the design is based off of a suggestion in the Reddit post. So, for those of you who haven't seen it, it's interesting. I like it. I like the color scheme of it. I like the particle effects on it being like these giant flames that are coming up from the bottom, and it's got the same orange color that you'd see on like a trimmed comp. I think it's gorgeous. I've seen people say it's the ugliest thing in the world. I think it's quite nice. So obviously, art is subjective. DX, what are your thoughts on it? Have you seen the picture of it yet?
Yeah, I watched the Dev Q&A live. I like the 15-year anniversary cape. I like usually though, if we're wearing something that's on fire, usually we would spontaneously combust. And also, there's a couple of things. Another thing I want you to pay attention to regarding that picture is it actually sneakily has an X and a V on the back of the cape. Whether or not you realized it like that, it just looks like a bit of armor to me. But when you look closely, it's an X and a V.
Yep, for 15. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, man.
I broke my skill with no warning on the Crablet event before the arc, so it's level 4, and I snagged the name Error 40. That's interesting. And so that's the 15-year cape finally coming into the game. I am so excited for this cape to be here, because obviously 15 years was last year, technically, but, they don't have the data, yada, yada, yada. So I'm just pumped and also ready to be, super disappointed that, I somehow messed up. I'm so that's my immediate thought is what if I don't have the cape? What if I was wrong all these years? So I'm super paranoid, but that's just how I am about everything in life. So I'm really excited to get a hold of this cape. I can't wait. I'll definitely be wearing it for probably a while over any of my other capes.
I'll have to wait until I think at least 2021 or at least 2022 to get mine.
Man, that's exactly why I'll probably be wearing it, is the fact that I think it's going to be pretty prestigious for at least a year or so. I don't think a lot of people are going to have the 15-year cape at the very least in the first year. So that's pretty cool.
I wonder who's going to be the first person to pick it up.
Whoever wakes up first, I guess. Whoever's in the most convenient time zone.
In other words, you're going to pull an all-nighter.
Well, you have to understand that if they do it at update, like server tick, then that's easy, because that's 8 o'clock at night for me. But if they do it at game update on Monday, then yeah, someone's gonna beat me to it, because game update happens while I'm sleeping generally. But yeah, I'm still super looking forward to it, and it's not like this is this year. This is literally next week. We are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are 6 days. 6 days, 5 days, we're less than a week away from this cape. So I'm excited about that. It's really hard when I'm trying to freaking quit the game out of anger, and then they finally release something I want. Sorry, Jagex, it's got to be player-owned farms. That's the only thing that's going to keep me here. Sorry. Don't even get me started on Jagex not tracking certain dates correctly. Ugh, I know, Zenel, it's ridiculous. If I didn't count from the release of the loyalty program, I'd be eligible for the 10-year loyalty crown. Wow. That's crazy. Yeah, if they counted a lot of things correctly, I'd be happy. I mean, anyway, it's not their fault.
Has the
Shit
loyalty
happens.
program been around for that long?
I don't think the actual loyalty program has, no.
I don't think so either.
But anyway, Valentine's Day content also coming in. So Valentine's Day event. The location will be the Lumbridge Crater. You'll talk to Wizard Did It to help him fix problems. The rewards will include a loot beam, balloons, flowers, rest emote, walk animation, and staff. There will also be a Valentine Times event, which will be similar to Deathbeard's Demise. So that's pretty cool.
That loot beam animation is so great. It's like a effigy holding a dragon full helmet.
Oh, it is adorable. Only that would really confuse me.
Really
when I'm dropped, I'll be like, "Wait, did I get an effigy? Did I get a dragon? What? Wait, oh, that's cute though."
But I thought when I heard this, I was under the impression that this part of it is actually going to be behind the it's going to be mainly have something to do with Treasure Hunter. As far as this timed event goes, that won't be.
Really? Because, all right, so that's interesting to know.
That's the way I understood it.
If it's similar to Deathbeard's Demise, you're right, it probably won't have to do with Treasure Hunter. It will probably be tied into the Rune Coin system, which they've been seeming to give more love to lately.
Which means the annoying part is the Valentine's Day event specifically, with those rewards will be mainly have something to do with bloody Treasure Hunter.
It wouldn't be surprised at this point.
If that's the case, I would be really angry because some of that stuff looks good, and you don't really and you shouldn't be forced to buy keys to get that stuff.
Oh, okay. Rebel says, the loot beam is not the effigy and helm, it's the tornado of hearts coming out of it. The items are there to cause the beam. Okay, thank you. That's good to know. Clearly I didn't watch the stream. Thank you. Good to know. Alright, so let's see here. Skill Cape perks also coming in here, which is similar to the old school RuneScape idea. Each 99 Skill Cape will have one perk. Invention will reduce drain rate, and Strength allows you to use Dismember ability to last an extra 2 seconds. So you get little perks like that. Maxed and Completionist Capes can store up to 3 perks. I am going to guarantee you everyone's going to probably use Reduced Drain Rate for Invention. And obviously we don't know the other ones yet except for Strength, so that will be curious to know as well. But you'll be able to keep up to 3 perks if you have the Maxed or Comp Cape.
I believe that the most people that would use this skill cape perk, the skills that they'll use will be Dungeoneering, Invention, and Slayer.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Why do I say that? It's because all of them are 120, and Slayer's going to be 120 this year.
Interesting. I just think those are also probably the most popular skills as well. So we also have a double XP weekend event coming up soon. The weekend is the same as normal with no XP cap. The bonus XP will be extended throughout the week at decreased rates. Based on the amount of XP you get, the rate will decrease from 2 to 1. So, 100% back to, regular 0% bonus. So they're not doing it in the normal, like you have X amount of hours to get double XP, and you can milk as much double XP out of it as you want. If you have no life, you have double XP, and once you've used X amount of hours, it goes back to single XP, which is actually what Harley and I were talking about on a previous show, how that would actually be a better system. That way you could use your bonus XP when you want, not have to worry about taking a vacation or doing whatever. As long as you got the hours in within like a week or something, or X amount of time, then you didn't really have to worry about when you were going to be playing, as long as you could play at some point in time. However, with that being said, it sounds like they've gone one step further and maybe not included like a whole week where you could pick, and it might actually be that only included within the same amount of time, which actually means that it is kind of a nerf. It's like it's almost like a twisted version of our idea by they took the whole idea of it drains from 2 to 1 and you could do it in your own time. But if it's included only in that weekend, then they're really not giving you any favors. They're really just actually expediting the fact that you need to get that XP. Or they're not really helping you in any way, shape, or form. They're really just hurting people who are, or capping out people who would play for 24 hours a day or something stupid for like 3 days. So I can't actually say if that's a good or a bad thing, because I don't know how long the bonus XP is available for. If it's only available for the weekend, the only thing it does is hurt hardcore players, which I'm not for. So that's kind of another thing that I'm a little disappointed about tentatively, because I don't know the exact answer there. If anyone has any more details as to exactly the length of time that can be activated through, please let me know.
I believe it goes through at least 5 days or something.
If it's at least 5 days, that's probably about the... Is that about the same?
It's like a gradual fade off.
Yeah, I understand how it works, DX. I'm asking how many days it's active for.
I would have to go back and have another listen to it.
Yeah,
but...
if it's only active for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, then we've pretty much lost out on XP.
No.
If it's active for like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then cool. Good on you, Jagex, for giving people a chance. You know, maybe because some people don't. You know, some people's weekends are Wednesday, Thursday, and or Sunday, Monday. It's not everyone has Friday, Saturday, Sunday to do that. So I think that would be more fair. If you just, so here's the week, try to get your double XP in sometime, and that's that. Anyway, also there's going to be a game jam on the 17th of February, which is also double XP weekend. JMODS will be working on a game jam, and they will receive their own double XP weekend, take in player suggestions, and work on passion projects. That's the goal, at least. They won't be completed until months later, but these ideas will be started, and the ones that are popular will be finished later and introduced into the game, which is a pretty cool way to possibly get ideas into the game that may or may not have actually made it in. ZZ says it will still be the normal 72 hours of double XP weekend. Following the weekend, the decreasing timer will start. It's more OP than ever. Yes. Thank you, ZZ, for clearing that up. I appreciate that. Okay, so they've gone and made it ridiculous. That's actually kind of ridiculous. So you get full double XP over the weekend, and then it just slowly fades out through the week. Yeah, that is...
There is a cap during the week, as it decreases.
Yeah. That's not how I would have done it. Wow, that's interesting. That's an interesting take on the idea that Harley and I had. And I'm going to assume more and more that they had a very different plan in mind then. Okay. Continuing on, Mystery Quest, of course, final update for the month is going to require 37 Slayer, 45 Runecrafting, and 50 Divination. So, a medium-level quest, nothing too intense. Invention may help, but not a requirement. Mm-hmm.
And I have partially figured out what that means by the 37 Slayer, which is a wall beast. 45 Runecrafting is a Chaos Rune.
Interesting.
Wait, is that right?
I don't know.
No, sorry, that's 35. 45. No, screw it, bugger it. Bugger it, I have got it right.
Okay.
Wall base, definitely.
We'll come back to the math corner with Dxthelb later. So
maybe
what's 2 plus 2 again?
7.
DX, maybe it's a Wall Beast origin story.
2 plus 2 is 2 plus 2 origin story. Nail Beast, I love it. 2 plus 2 equals Nail Beast. All right, so it's a pretty short. It's a pretty short little month ahead segment. I'm sure that if they have lined out the entire month for us here, then it's a pretty packed month, if you ask me. A hard month, making it really hard for me to not play. Go ahead.
Mod Osborne was a jerk to Mod Shawnee throughout the dev Q&A, man. At one stage, Shawnee stormed off the set.
Really?
Yeah.
Like in a joking
Osborne
way, or what
jerk.
happened?
Wow.
Because Osborne was just being a jerk. Yeah, I don't know. He had too many Red Bulls or something, but
it seems like they push Mod Shawnee a lot.
Yeah, I feel sorry for Shawnee because Shawnee's probably one of the best guys around there. They
Super
don't want him
nice.
going to bloody. They don't want him going to bloody Play Fusion.
I know, right? That's a real shame. I hope he's all right, because he's truly a good community manager, and they really, they shouldn't let he shouldn't let his kindness be his weakness.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Because he's a good teammate.
He's an absolute sweetheart on at least from an outside person. I don't know him personally, of course, but he seems really, really sweet.
I've talked to him a few times. I've interviewed him, and he was a really nice guy to talk to. So, yeah, I would really, really hate to see him go anywhere. But I also, don't want to see him get treated like shit either. So, whatever ends up being best for him is best for him. Anyway, so we're gonna enter into the next segment here. It's pretty much on you, David, to talk about your experiences the past few days and your feelings as far as the boss goes. You can start off with your feelings. Just make sure to get analytical eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. So initially, of course, everybody was totally shocked, and this is from my perspective. Of course, I recognize that there are others, but everybody was pretty thrilled and stoked that the wand and orb was kept hidden. We were all very concerned that unless there was like a monster drop table, this boss would be dead content within 2 or 3 weeks once people had unlocked the prayers, which, you know, to be perfectly honest, don't have much utility at all at this stage, although maybe for future content they have it planned that they'll be good. But basically right now they're not useless, but they're very close to useless. And so I think for longevity, it was crucial that tier 92 weapons were unlocked from this boss, although
it
maybe
seemed like the logical progression. It seemed
Yeah,
like the logical progression.
and given the way it was talked about, it was consistently referred to as the new Virago, which of course, you know, was a wand and orb. It would constantly refer to that. They said there'd be hidden surprises on release. There was a wand and orb update like a couple days before the release of the boss. So I think that a lot of us were pretty sure that they were not being honest with us about there being no weapon drop. So a lot of people actually weren't that surprised, more relieved was the other reaction.
I can understand that from a PVMer's end. Obviously, you don't want your new content to be dead content on release. On the flip side of things, as somebody who reports on RuneScape, I don't like it when my, you know, trusted sources tell me one thing and then do a completely different thing. Like,
yeah,
it makes it real hard to report when the official channel is pumping out fake information.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. And the prices of weapons were really interesting on release. Like Seismics crashed to about a quarter or a third of their price. Staff of Sliske crashed to about 700 mil, 800 mil. Things have recovered a bit since they fixed the drop rate. But seeing wands get spammed in the first hour was a little disheartening, because you kind of want it to be a rare drop, because you know, because if it's not rare, it loses its longevity and duration. You know, people still love and enjoy Virago 4 years after release, which is you know, a real testament to how well that boss, at least at the time it came out, was balanced. So hopefully that will be the same for these weapons, and I think it will now that the drop rate's been fixed. They said only 33 wands came into the game on the first day.
Not horrible.
Yeah, which is not horrible. And it was really cool to get one. I was pretty thrilled about that. It was about 100 kills or so before my team got a single drop, and then we got 3 drops in the span of an hour, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. You guys sound like you got pretty lucky on the. I woke up this morning and looked at general chat, and I believe it read something like wand.
Yeah. Yeah, we're doing a 6-person team, so it was a pretty big split. It was like maybe it was a little less than 400 mil per person.
Nice, very nice. So it sounds like the community itself was very pleased with the outcome of this boss.
Well, it's shockingly accessible, just because there's almost no, other than of course, you know, you'll get fewer drops, smaller splits, etc. There's almost no disincentive to massing, besides just like for someone like me, it's just, you know, less fun. Not you know, that's not why I play the game for specifically for PVM challenges.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not that appealing, and I have not done a team larger than 8 yet. But for what it seems like, almost anybody can just jump into an instance, and as long as you eat a lot of food, you can survive and not cause the kill to fail, which at a boss like Yakamaru or Virago, if you don't know what you're doing and are not told what to do, you could kill literally the entire team within the first 60 seconds. If certain mechanics occur. So I do think that's interesting. I think the fight itself is pretty phenomenal. Lots of teamwork, lots of coordination. There's lots of DPS checks. It seems extremely well balanced and designed.
Can you define DPS checks for us noobs?
Well, there's certain moments where there'll be basically mechanics. So basically there are 5 different phases, and there's a cycle where mechanics will keep repeating until you do enough DPS to get it to the next phase. And so it'll basically do a special, and then you have a chance to do a ton of damage in order to get it to the next phase. But if you fail to do that amount of damage, then it'll repeat the cycle. And the specials can be quite devastating. I mean, they're all avoidable, and they're not devastating the way that something like a hard mode Virago special would be. But essentially, it'll keep repeating the cycle over and over until you've done enough damage.
Okay, gotcha. That's interesting. That's an interesting mechanic right there.
Yeah, it's very similar to normal mode Nex in that way. So, like, I don't know if you've done.
Yeah.
So, like, if you think about Blood Face, like, if you
that's
fail,
exactly what I was thinking in my mind, but I'm too much of a noob to say it out loud in case I was wrong. But yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Just imagine if every phase worked similarly to Blood Phase, where if you messed it up,
the one phase of Nex that makes me want to never do Nex again. That's good to know. Okay. Okay. So
this plus you have a lot of people with you though, so it's not you know, it's not, as long as you're going with a larger team, it's really easy to just, you know, kind of relax.
Okay, it's good to know. So as far as the fight, would you?
Sorry, the last thing I'll say, it's gorgeous. Like it's one of the most beautiful things that's ever come into the game. Like particle effects. I don't have a great laptop, so I'm playing on kind of low settings, not quite minimum, but just above that. But I was watching streams of people with really good computers, and it looks as beautiful as almost any game. Obviously, it's RuneScape style. It's not going to look realistic like Call of Duty or something, but it's gorgeous to look at. So I don't. If you care about aesthetics, not necessarily quote unquote graphics and like a real life kind of sense, but aesthetically, it looks like artwork. It's like lots of particles, lots of bloom is used really well, but not in a way that hurts your eyes. Just really, really pretty.
It's kind of how I felt about God of War's Dungeon 2 when it came out. I was like, this is using the RuneScape engine correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that this is taking it to a whole nother level.
Would you say that this area is probably designed with NXT in mind?
I couldn't imagine playing this on Java. So if you are still a Java user, I think you'd have some trouble, especially in smaller teams, because there'll be so many particles around. I guess maybe you could turn those off on Java or something. Haven't played.
You can
Java
turn,
in a while,
yeah, you can turn particles
but it's
off.
Certainly, it's very NXT based. And the other thing is that having at least the medium-sized draw distance helps quite a bit as well. If I remember correctly, Java does not have a great draw distance.
No, it's probably maybe like 20 tiles around you. It's not that great. Interesting. So would you mind going through the learning process, maybe like your first day fighting Nex, and what that was like for you?
Absolutely. So we entered. My team was pretty good. We got it to what we're calling Zaro's phase. There's no official phase, but it's just the final phase of the fight where she uses all of the different styles of attacks. That's just what people have been referring to it as. And then we didn't know how to handle the insta-kill mechanics or how the pillars worked. So we just got absolutely crushed. Then we sort of figured out how the pillars worked, kind of, but still didn't know how to clear the insta-kill properly. So it took a little while for us to get a kill, maybe like 45 minutes or so. And then it became like we'd get maybe one kill every 3 or 4 attempts or something like that, because we didn't know how the enraged stacks worked. Like we thought we were smart avoiding certain specials, but it turns out if you avoid the special, it just like doubles her enrage. So the base tanks start taking really high hits. Because between phases, the base takes both melee and mage hits, and your defensives are all put on cooldown for that portion. And if the enrage is high enough, you could pray melee and only take 4k melee hits, but mage hits will hit 8 to 9k on the base. And so bases were dying very quickly early on. But now that we have the enrage figured out, it's very manageable. And rotations are down to where my partner and I, who we've been basing since basically the start, are now on Nihils and using DPS gear and doing it fairly confidently, although not easily.
When you got your first kill on the boss, would you say that you were confident going in that this was the kill you were going to get, or were you surprised when you got that kill?
Oh, we had sort of somebody basically. There's an interesting thing where if someone dies, you could go watch the fight. And so about half the team got cleared by that final kind of insta-kill mechanic, which is a 2-part thing. And none of us from the ground knew how the second portion worked, but somebody who was viewing from above saw what was happening. And so we knew exactly how it worked just by the nature of several people being like, hey, you know, like after you clear insta-kill, you turn into a living bomb. So basically you're a walking IED. For about 5 seconds, and so what we would do
is that when Nex makes you bear the full attack or something, or is that something different?
Yeah. That is, it's similar to that, but basically you get an insta kill timer. You go and clear it in the middle, kind of like if you think about the Demon Slayer quest, where you have to stand in the like shield every time the demon does the special. I don't know if you remember that one.
I do.
It's literally that mechanic.
Okay.
You know, much faster, and instead of hitting like 5K, it just kills you. But so what you do is you clear that, but then you turn into a bomb. And so what we were doing is we'd clear it and then run back into the DPS pile. And of course, we were a walking bomb, and so we killed everybody. And so that's what was wiping us. And somebody was like, hey, you know, like somebody noticed that, hey, you turn into an explosive for 5 seconds. So maybe don't run straight into the DPS pile.
You're right.
So we were pretty confident we were going to get a kill once we had figured that out.
Interesting. So,
and the other stuff was just like we didn't know how the mechanics worked, but we could just DPS hard and spam Rocktail Brew, and so it was slow, painful, and I used an entire yak of Rocktails and Brews because I didn't know how to avoid anything, and I was just spam clicking my 1 and 2 keys, which are my food keys. But we did get it very slowly and painfully. So it was yeah, we knew we would be successful in the sense we got the kill, but not in the sense that we did anything correctly.
Fair enough. Would you like to explain exactly the process from phases through each phase, exactly what you think is your current strategy, or is that something you're holding?
Yeah, absolutely. No problems at all. If anybody wants to talk strategy, that's totally fine. I think that we're being really open about sharing tactics and stuff like that.
Okay.
At least my team is. I don't know if that's true for everyone, but I think that's what we're doing. So basically, the phase, it starts out with you have the ability to do a lot of damage as DPS without getting hit. So we're all adrenaline stalling on a dummy outside. And the nice thing about this is max cape not required at all for this boss because you spawn right in the next bank. So you literally can bonfire because someone is dropping logs. You could adrenaline stall on dummies. You could eat up, or actually it heals you as soon as you leave. And so all you need to do is restore your prayer with prayer potions instead of an altar. And you can never leave next. So there's no max cape needed for efficiency, which I don't know how people feel about that.
That's good in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too. Like because regular mode next, if you don't have a max cape, I'll go. I go with Harley, for example, because I like to. But a lot of times people will just say no if you don't have a max cape for that because it just takes so long to get back. So anyway, so we all. Sorry, yeah, absolutely. And feel free to interrupt me anytime because I'll just be.
Someone in chat over on the Twitch side of things is just asking if somebody wanted to join you as a +1. What's the process for doing that? And are you accepting anyone?
Our spots fill up very quickly, and we're doing smaller teams now, mostly 6-man kills. But if you want to get your book or comp cape or something like that, we can definitely. I can most likely convince people to let you come. But my recommendation would be to go to one of the masses, which are free to the public generally, in order to kind of get your feet wet. And that's what I had Zenel do, for example. It's like I knew a friend who was hosting a mass. And I was just like, hey, I'm sorry, I can't get you in my perm team right now because we still are clueless. And partially because we don't want anything to get messed up, and partially because we don't want to embarrass ourselves was kind of what we were thinking on release. But there are many masses going on where you could very easily get kills and also learn the bare basics of what to do. So I can't answer that with a yes, especially if I don't know your experience in PVM in general. But
Sure.
yeah, we could definitely think about it. And I'm sorry, I hope that doesn't sound like elitist or something. It's day 3, so we're still
learning.
figuring out tactics. We're still figuring out how to be efficient. We still fail about 1 kill every hour or so. So until we have it perfect, I'm a little bit hesitant to invite people aside from just 1 kill to get their comp cape back or whatever.
Fair enough. So do you have plans on eventually taking or becoming a teacher for this boss once you've got it nailed down, or are you going to write a guide or anything
definitely.
for it?
I mean, I don't personally. I'm not a YouTube maker and I don't write guides, but I definitely could. I have it down well enough where I could definitely do something like that. We've sort of got mostly it figured out. But yeah, I could potentially do that. I just haven't ever made like a YouTube guide or anything. There are a few out there that are pretty good already.
I assume the RS guys probably already got one, but Justice probably already has one. Like I'm sure their June Song probably already got one. I'm sure there are ones out there already. Yeah.
I think Damp Cat's guide is quite good, and Julius was on his team, and Julius was one of the people to test. So they figured out mechanics really quickly, which was no surprise. And Julius got one of the first 2 or 3 wands to come in the game.
Do you know anyone who's on the test team? And you don't have to name them.
Yeah. Julius JMJ is his RSN, and that's his YouTube name, and he's got he was one of the testers.
I know you're
Lit was a tester.
I know you weren't directly involved in testing or anything, but
definitely not.
Maybe you can. A lot of people, especially in the skilling community, are really outraged by the fact that they let people or players test it, and I'm wondering if they revealed any of their testing processes at all, as whether they actually let you play the boss or if it's just pieces that they're testing.
So basically, different people got to test different pieces.
That's what I thought.
Lots of it was kept hidden. So Telos, for example, Phase 5 was kept completely hidden from testers. And after about 200 in Rage, and once you get Phase 3 down, which is actually extremely easy once you get it, it's just horrible until you do get it, if that makes sense. Really, the entire fight is get to Phase 5 and then do Phase 5. So that's kind of how they did it. Is it seems like the majority of the most crucial mechanics were kept hidden. And if I am not mistaken, a lot of the most important parts of the fight, they were just like made it so like they couldn't die or whatever. So they weren't really getting that much of an advantage. Although I do think that it was certainly some help. And there was no advantage to being the first person to kill it other than a glitch in the drop rates of some of the items, which isn't the tester's fault. Like I don't think it's Julius's fault that he got a wand early because the drop rate was messed up. You know, I think it's a little unfair to get upset with him for a glitch.
I probably wouldn't be upset with him about that, but there is a conspiracy theory floating around that they purposely jacked up the drop rates on the first couple of days so the testers would have a chance to basically reap the benefits of that. Well, what are your thoughts on that conspiracy?
I mean, I certainly can't speak to the legitimacy of a conspiracy theory. It's possible. I hope that it's not true. I doubt that it's true. It seems like it was just somewhat of an oversight, and it wasn't like. It wasn't like people were just getting constant drops. You got Lit Up's team got 2 codexes, JMJ's team got a wand, and as far as I know, only a lot of people tested the boss, and as far as I know, those are the only 3 drops during the early stages.
It seems highly unlikely that was
if it's only 3 drops, that seems like not. 6 months from now, the fact Julius got a wand early is not going to affect the price of wands. So I'm not super worried about that.
Fair enough. That's good to know, because I let it float around in my head when I was angry, and then as I kind of calmed down and my IQ returned to a normal level of thought processing, I was like, that sounds really stupid. Like, I don't think that actually happened. I wanted to believe it though. I was just like, I was so angry at the fact that they had introduced those weapons not without telling us, but by providing us false information, that I was really ready to believe anything. And then Now I'm like, well, this is how conspiracy theories actually end up being like popular belief, is because it's just a bunch of people who get angry about something and just will believe anything to support their cause. So yeah, I can kind of understand where that conspiracy theory would form, but it also, if you think about it for any length of time, it sounds a little ridiculous. Considering there's like 33 wands in the game, like, and they're not all being hoarded by specifically testers or anything, so I don't think that really holds any weight.
Exactly. I think of all the issues unreleased, that's the least of the problems. There are basically 2 bugs, one significant, one just funny. But the reason I think testers are good is this is probably the least buggy release of a group boss, I should say, in the game's history.
Really?
There's no... Yeah, so like Yakimaru, for example, had a bug where you literally could not finish the kill. Was how bad it was. Virago had tremendous bugs on release. Hard mode especially had a lot of bugs. A lot of things weren't worked out and not balanced properly. This boss seems extremely well balanced for small to mid-sized teams. I think large teams, they need to take a serious look into. And we can talk about that maybe later with the energy price discussion.
Yeah, that's actually about where I was going next. Was going to be drops, and then skilling and whatnot.
So the drop table for, it's a 2-part drop table. There's 5 vital roll drops, 2 for the tanks and 3 for the top DPS. Wands and orbs only drop on that table. And I believe the armor box is only drop on that table, and the codex is only drop on that table. Loot is around 600k, basically, is what you can expect, between 600k and 800k for a vital roll. And for a fight that takes, for the team size that was intended, which was 7, about 8 minutes to 9 minutes for an inexperienced team, that's still pretty good. Or if you're like extremely efficient, maybe 6 to 7 minutes, it's pretty low. Like the normal drops are very, very, like, very mediocre compared to, say, like, you'll make way more money at like Vindicta, for example, just with the normal
steady
drops.
cash.
Yeah, exactly. But of course, Vindicta doesn't drop an item that's worth over 2 bill.
Yeah, like you're not going for the common drops. You're going to hopefully get the rare drop. That's what high level elite bossing is about.
Exactly. Right? Yeah, exactly. And that's what Virago, for example, has always been about. You don't go for the regular loots. You go for wands and singularities. Although tectonic energy prices are actually, Virago loot is better on the normal table, arguably, than next. Although it's very close. They're similar.
Interesting.
The next 5 DPS, although I have never done a 10-man team, so I've actually never gotten the most I've done is 8. And so the next 5 DPS also will all get a participation drop. And aside from the possibility of getting 1 Serenic scale, it seems like the loot is really mediocre for that, like maybe around 100k.
Sounds like consolation prizes for people who showed up.
Yeah, it's
and
like,
tried.
For example, I know someone who got 8 restores. I know someone who got 3 rune bars. So
yeah, okay. Like, so it's basically like, thanks for coming, try again next time.
Yeah, it's kind of like, hey, if you do a mass or something, hey, at least you were in the top 10. So yeah, and then if you're outside the top 10 and you're doing a larger than 10 person team, you will get no drop.
I'll call that Magebit tier loot right there. Interesting. So there's like 2 different tiers of loot, from what I'm understanding. Is that correct? Depending on
yes, that is correct. And they've made it so you can only get 1 drop. So what we're like at Virago, for example, I'll bomb tank and also do enough DPS where I'll win both the bomb tank slot and the DPS slot. So where a normal person might get like 0 to 2 drops, I usually get 3 to 4 drops per kill. Assuming I'm going with an average team.
If you fill multiple roles, you get the loot for those roles. Is that what you're saying?
you only get at Virago. That's how it works. But
Okay.
at Nex, you get one no matter what.
Okay. A little more
Which
balance.
which is another frustration because it's made it so people will go in masses and fight over the base roll, and you could basically just camp a shield, a yak, and defensive armor and survive as base pretty easy. Like even someone who did almost no PVM could just turn on Revolution and just hold down Rocktail Brew Key, and you'll get a vital roll drop every single time for basically not contributing at all except just being there. If you're the tank and in a mass, obviously in a smaller team, basing is much more difficult. But so I'm a little frustrated that there's not a reward for being able to out DPS a DPSer as base, which I've always thought was a cool thing at Virago. Like if you could bomb tank and do more DPS than the DPS can, I think that that's something that should be rewarded. Although I think that it'd be reasonable to disagree with that, because I think that they want this to be a more accessible, more friendly, less elitist thing.
That'd be nice.
But the other thing is it also means that people sometimes fight over the tank role more than usual in larger teams because you could basically functionally leech the kill and get a vital drop every single time.
Okay. That's interesting to know as far as it sounds like the loot's a lot more generous.
Yeah, for casual, I mean, this boss is it's specifically designed for casual players who don't have much experience with combat, can get kills and get some loot. But unless, in my personal opinion, I think in the long run, once prices for the wand goes down a little bit, some of these 20-man kills, I guess it's cool to get like a 20 mil split. Is that what that would be? Or a 20 mil split. But honestly, the rate is so rare that you'll never really make much money. But maybe it feels good to get like a 500k drop or something. I don't know.
No. It doesn't feel good to get a 500k drop. I guess that is actually very subjective. If you have $1 million gold in the bank, a 500k drop probably feels amazing.
Exactly. I think it's very subjective. I think they wanted to make it so it was easy for people to get comp capes back, because right now, basically, if you're a non-PVMer, if you want your comp cape back, you either need to have a friend, or you need to have 100 mil to buy a leech for whatever it is you need, or maybe less depending on how hard the fight is. But they did do a great job making it extremely accessible, mostly because there's there are very few ways for a single person to wipe the kill. So people are a little bit less elitist about it, which is nice. I think that's good.
I agree. That is pretty good. So let's talk more about drops. So obviously, the drop table consists of, beyond the unique items, again, mostly skilling items, as has been the unfortunate
which has been true
pattern.
since God Wars Dungeon 1. So it's been 10 years now where skilling drops have been 90% of the drops for bosses. So I think that's very unsurprising.
Yeah, unsurprising is not what I'm looking for in my game 15 years in, though. So,
yeah,
unsurprising status quo is not keeping Magebit around. I'm telling everyone that right now. And if they don't start appealing to their other side of the community, they're going to lose their other side of the community. And I'm trying to make an example out of myself here. Because, in my opinion, this is going too far. Harley and I kind of had an off-the-record discussion about it as well, and a lot of it boiled down to, why can't we just do gold drops? Why? And then that gold can be used to purchase the things that are needed from PVMers. I don't think it would inflate the economy if there are no items dropped, because they still need those items. They need to buy those items for other things when they're literally just going to high elk those items to turn into gold anyway.
Well, I will say this. So on the side drop table, there's basically no skilling items of note. So 540 luminous energy Pretty paltry. And the other thing is that if you die, you can't get your loot. So a lot of these drops are actually not coming into the game because people are dying and not getting their stuff. And then, so if you look at the main table, it's actually the only drops that are, so the alkables are rune items, dragon,
which again is a horrible idea with the mining and smithing rework coming. They're making more work for themselves later.
Yeah, I think that they've kind of figured that.
It seems like they just don't care, in my opinion.
My guess is that they feel like rune items being at alk price, since it's been true for like 5 years. I think at this point they just don't care anymore about that. And interestingly, dragon longswords are coming to the game so fast right now that you could alk them for about 10k profit each. Which I think is kind of funny.
Yeah, that's stupid. I mean, it's a proof that there's a problem here. With
certainly.
Type of stuff.
But it's like, I think that they're hesitant to just drop straight cash. I don't know enough about the economy for that. But basically, the skilling drops are a few herbs. So Cadentine Snapdragon, magic logs, which are already worth so little because of God Wars Dungeon 2 that I think that. I think that the crash will be insignificant in comparison to how far they've already crashed. The only skilling item that could potentially crash, which I think is why you're so upset, is literally just energy prices.
It's the only place left that a skiller can make money, and they've gone and attacked it. I can't say that it's going to kill it, but it's certainly not helping when we have nothing else.
Yeah, I think that the fact that that's probably the only item on the drop table that could theoretically crash, given that everything else is alkable or has already crashed to hell. I see why that
there is no alk value for energy. There's no safety net.
Right, exactly. It's the one thing that's required. But I think that.
Yeah, Zenel, you're correct. Timbo pretty much said that pure GP would not impact the economy. We lost you there for a second, Dave.
Oh, sorry about that. I will say I've used far more energy since I've started fighting it than I've gotten in drops. Like, not even close. Like 15-1 in terms of energy used versus energy gained.
So what are your common drops then? Because I'm seeing here incandescent energy, luminous energy, rune bars, cadentines, dragon lawn swords. I'm not seeing a crazy amount of commons here.
I actually don't know how accurate the wiki table is right now. I've only gotten 2 incandescent energy drops and 1 luminous energy drop in about 100 kills or so.
Mm-hmm.
I've mostly gotten rune stuff, rune plate skirts, rune 2-handed crossbows, rune warhammers. I've gotten 4 or 5 Trisk keys, which I think is kind of a weird drop, but I guess
whatever.
It's whatever. Like I've got something like 95 of them in my bank. I don't know if they'll ever be used.
Oh, I would.
So I think most people. The one thing about Trisk keys is I don't know if people are concerned about that, but I don't know any PVMers who really do clues. Most of the PVMers I know have nearly 100 or more full Trisk keys in the bank just sitting there. Like if we could alk them, if I could alk them for 100k, I'd alk them.
I wish you could trade them for 100k. I'd buy them.
Yeah. So I wouldn't worry about any treasure hunter or treasure trail items because PVMers we don't use Trisk keys. Someone I know is literally leaving their Trisk keys on the floor because they're so annoyed that that's a drop.
I see. That makes me sad.
But Ascendry bolts are actually weirdly common, and those, of course, they can never crash too far below alk value.
Mm-hmm.
Onyx bolt tips as well will never really crash too far.
Yeah.
And crystal keys also have the safety net of dragon stones.
I mean, everything on here, except for the herbs and energy, pretty much have some sort of like safety net bottom, if you will. But I'm talking common drops, of course. I'm not talking like.
Although I don't know too much about farming, but I don't think Cadentine and Snapdragon are used on herb runs almost at all. Although maybe Cadentine.
I do Cadentine runs purely because they're the most expensive herb.
Yeah. That's probably why I do Caden times. But I think Snapdragons are not. If I remember correctly,
Snapdragons are not that popular. I have no problem seeing Snapdragons on there. I do have a problem seeing Cadentines on there because that's
fair enough.
One of the few money-making methods we have.
Maybe if they had done like Avanto or Dwarf. The problem is that no cost drops Cadentine. So I think that's why
maybe that was why it was such a decent moneymaker for skillers. Huh? What a surprise.
Yeah, I don't think they were trying to be devious or anything. I just think that, this is unbalanced.
No, it's not that they're being devious. They're being negligent. So, there's a difference between being devious and negligent. They just don't give a shit about skillers. No, they're not actively trying to attack us. They just don't give a shit about us. That's all.
Yeah. So the other thing I was saying, defensive energies, is what I was kind of mentioning earlier. Currently at Nex, you do not get any XP for your invention items, but you do have a very high drain rate because typically you'll be in full augmented gear. It's required for smaller teams. I don't think people could get kills without it, although maybe if they used enough super brews, they could, I guess, but it'd be rough. And then in larger teams, say like there would be, most people are still that I've seen are using augmented gear. So I've seen masses where there'll be like 25 people using augmented gear. And from what it seems like, the energy drop rates are such that it's either even or even more charges are being used up by the team than energy gets dropped, because only one person can get like get incandescent energy. So if there's like 5 people on the team, 5 drops, a maximum of 1 drop can be an energy drop, is how it's working.
And it takes an average of a team how long to kill?
It depends. Smaller teams, depending on how good you are, like You Got Lit Up is getting kills around 5 to 6 minutes. I think that's not common. My team is getting kills between 6 and 8 minutes. I think average.
So within like 30 days, would you say the average person, or not the average person, but the average high level PVMer would be able to defeat this boss in probably about 6 to 7 minutes? Do you think?
I think 6 to 8 minutes for an 8-man team will be basically what the average high level PVMer will get. Okay. Masses, of course. I don't know what they're going to do about that, because I think it's kind of silly you can take 30 people and get a kill within 3 minutes.
Well, you've given me some interesting food for thought here, because what I'm going to do now is see how long it takes me to gather 3,100 energy, and then decide how much of an impact that really is. If 1 in 7 people can get it, maybe 1 in 10 times.
I would say maybe closer to 1 in 5 kills, somebody will get energy.
So 1 in 5, let's say 1 in 7 people will get it 1 in 5 times. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I'm guessing here,
I know, I'm guessing as well.
But talking to my friends, that seems to be basically about right.
Yeah, everything's up in the air right now. I'm just trying to make rough estimates here to scientifically decide whether or not this is going to be a long-term market herder for incandescent energies, and you're making it sound like it won't be, but I have to do my due diligence and make sure that's not the case.
I will say Telos drops a massive amount of energies. So if you want,
Telos is what brought the energy down from like 380 to 280.
Yeah,
so thank you for that earlier last year.
Yeah, if you want to be angry at a PVM update for energy prices, Telos.
I'm gonna be angry at any boss that continues to drop my supplies that I put into the game. But yeah, Telos was a much worse offender.
I think Nex is a drop in the bucket in comparison to Telos. Is
due to the fact that Telos is a 1-to-1 versus a 5-to-1 or 7-to-1. That makes a little more sense. I was not aware that only one person got the main drop and everyone else got side drops. I thought it was the majority got main drop and a couple people who sucked got side drops.
No, maximum of 5, and it seems like you can only get 1. It seems like she'll only drop 1 of each type of drop. So it seems like only a maximum of 1 energy drop can happen. I mean, to be fair, several of the 500 Luminous could occur. I think it seems like the side drops aren't exactly working that way. But I think 500 Luminous energy is not even close to 3K incandescent. And I don't think it's going to affect.
I'm not at all concerned about the side drop. This side drop table looks like a shitty level 70 Slayer monster. I'm fine with that.
It's worse than God Wars Dungeon 1,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, it looks like a shitty level 70
It's
Slayer monster.
it's a participation
Yeah,
medal for
it's a thank
joining
you
the
for
team
showing
or
up.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Main. So I mean, if the main, and how many people have access to the main drop table? It's up to 5.
5 maximum.
5 max, so up to 5. And you're thinking, you can't confirm this, but you're thinking its drop type is unique to each person.
Yes. I'm like 95. I'm like 95% sure.
If that's the case, then that's actually a really smart way to keep, a buttload of one item, being dropped at a time.
Yeah, there's no scenario where like 8 people get 3K incandescent. It's definitely it's a maximum of 1, I'm pretty sure. Although I mean, this could be not true. It just seems, at the very least, it seems highly unlikely more than one person on the team will get the incandescent energies, if at all.
Right. That's good to know. Obviously, from the way again, if you've read any of my Discord comments over the past couple of days, you'll know how I've been feeling, and this has alleviated my concern a little bit. I'm not happy still. I still think that this is the wrong way to go about giving PVMers wealth. However, as long as it's not going to eradicate my money-making power in the game, then I'm not going to just like up and leave and go play, something else. But
yeah,
I am going to
feel. You should not feel as down as you do. I mean, I can't tell you how to feel, of course, but
yeah.
But if this is I thought the primary reason you were so upset was because of the wand orb not being. Them not being honest about that.
I am pretty upset
and that's
about
like
that as well.
That's a subjective thing. I feel like a lot of they're like
no, that is a very subjective thing.
Thank you so much for keeping this secret. It was so I was so disappointed, but now I got so excited. This is so much better.
Well, again, I have no problem with them keeping it a secret. Lying and keeping a secret are two different things. Like, they literally said, and I believe it was Modaram, and I haven't watched this Q&A in a while, but the question came up from Mod Shawnee. No new weapons, nothing, it's just these prayers. And he turns to him and says, no, there will be nothing but those prayers. That's all you're getting. And he said that with a straight fucking face on. And if that's how it's going to be, I can't use that as a news source anymore.
He commented, somebody was telling them they were excited, they were happy that he had done that. And he's responded to that post saying something like, I had to practice a straight face in front of the mirror a bunch of times before I went on the stream so I wouldn't give it away.
See, that's not okay to me. That's not okay to me. I'm sorry. Why can't you just say we're not releasing any drop information? You'll find out when it comes into the game. End of story. That's just, we're not giving you any information. You don't lie to me about what's coming into the game. Just don't tell me. Just don't tell us. What is the difference between if I go to someone and say, and then they ask me, oh, did you get me this for Christmas? And I'm like, I'm not going to tell you what I got you for Christmas. Versus if they say, did you get me this for Christmas? And I just say, no, I didn't get you that for Christmas. The objective fact remains that in both scenarios, that person still doesn't know anything. They are still left in the dark. Only you've given them a finality on one of those, and now, if they are a trusting person, they assume or have a reasonable assumption that you're not lying to them. Like,
I think that's very fair. I think it would have maybe been better overall for them to have kept it a secret. I know me personally, I thought it was cool and exciting, but I'm willing to accept that that's
I'm completely willing to accepting that it was cool and exciting to not know about a new update coming into the game. Like, that is really cool. But there are way better ways that don't involve lying to people to achieve the same effect.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Jagex needs a lesson in PR 101, but you're gonna piss off some number of your player base the second you've lied.
Yeah, and I think I don't have any rejoinder to that, just because I can't. That seems to me like your reaction and feelings to that seem like your own, and I can't tell you you're wrong. You
don't do a news show where you're trying to build you have to have an air of credibility on the things that you say. So I understand that. I mean, I come here on a weekly basis. I take hours of my time out of my schedule to make sure that the information that I'm producing is correct when I say it's correct. Obviously we do a lot of shit posts on the show, but they're labeled as such. You know, when we provide actual information from Jagex as our source, I expect that my source isn't fucking lying to me, especially when my source is the official channel. If this information came from You Got Lit Up or one of the testers or something, then I would be like, okay, fine. They have, you know, they can lie to me. That's probably what they would do.
They're just wrong or whatever.
Yeah, they have an expectation that they could be wrong. When I'm literally getting the information from the official sources, I feel like I have a level of expectation that that information is genuine and correct.
Yeah, and I think that maybe the other reason, and I think that you're totally right to feel that way. I think the secondary reason why I reacted differently than you is just because my friends and I had all been talking about it. We were pretty certain that that they were hiding, that they were.
It made perfect sense. It made perfect sense.
We were convinced that at least what we thought though was that there would be, because they had said. Remember when the Cyware Kwan came out and they said there'd be an offhand eventually or something? We were thinking that maybe there's something like that. Maybe there's like the offhand, you know, there's like the orb for the Cyware wand, or there'd be if it wasn't difficult. But we thought that if it was as difficult as it is, that it'd be ridiculous for this boss to not. I'll say that it would be absurd for this boss to not have a tier 92 weapon drop.
Don't disagree with that at all. And I think the boss has the unique drops that the boss should have. It has nothing to do with it having unique items in my purview. It has everything to do with how they went about releasing the information. It's just, that's, you know, like the fact that they've devalued skilling when they said they wouldn't, and then gone and done this. And I get the skilling thing is a very niche thing, so like I understand most people probably, or, you know, at least maybe not even a majority, but a large portion of the community not agreeing or even giving a crap about that, and just being like, this is the way it's always been with Shut Up Magebit. Fine, I get that. I'm done. After this update, I said it. I'm done defending skilling in RuneScape. You've lost me as an advocate, because clearly it's just they have no intentions of doing it. So I'm done. I will cover whatever updates come into the game, and that's it. I'm not making any more op-eds on why and on how to fix skilling, what skilling needs, and how to keep skillers in the game. You've lost me, and it's a combination of the fact that I have lost faith in the team to provide me with accurate information. Literally in one day, they killed like my two biggest things that I care about the most in this game in one fell swoop. You know, They came after the value of skilling once again after they specifically chose my question on a previous Q&A, and we're like, we're not going to devalue, we're gonna bring value to skilling in 2017 and yada yada yada. And then the first fucking major update of the year literally does the opposite, and then they lie to us about that update. Like, I would have just taken the lie and fucking settled with that shit. But then two for one deal, I'm sorry, it's just too much for me.
Yeah, and like I was saying, I do think that the second part, it will end up being much less impactful than I think if prices do drop, it'll be because of perception. I think once people figure out that really, especially in comparison, like I said, in comparison to Telos, this is just like not even close to that in terms of dropping energy prices.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't expect. I would expect almost no drop due to Nex. If anything, maybe a couple of GP or something.
I mean, we're down about 1% right now. We're down 5 GP at the moment. That's barely more than a market fluctuation at this point.
And I think that that's about right.
Yeah, you're probably right. And again, with bonus XP weekend coming, and the fact that it's going longer than it's ever gone before, I do expect to see the market take a significant hit this month regardless, and things are going to be screwed up regardless, so it's going to be really difficult to pin it on Next in particular. And not that I'm trying to, but it's going to be hard to filter out the noise of what's bonus XP weekend and what's next, so I don't think I'll have an honest to God answer as to whether or not energy prices were affected until like the end of March, if not the beginning of April. And that's just life.
Anyways, so I was going to say the two bugs I was referring to earlier. The minor one is every time you get a kill, you also get a prestige, which is kind of funny. So right now I have like 102 Nex with 102 prestige or something like that, which is kind of funny. Obviously not impactful. They'll fix it. It's kind of whatever. It doesn't affect anything. Just weird. And the other one is that on release there was a bug with the music track. And so when you enter the fight, there's a new music track, which sounds really cool. It sounds awesome. I think you were playing it on the show earlier. I think like I said, I think everything about this, the fight itself, taking away the drops and taking away the I'm lying about the fight itself is like
stripping away all of the things that made me angry about this update. What is remaining behind looks like a fantastic update.
Yeah, I think probably easily the best group PVM content since Virago, and I think it's much better than Virago in a lot of ways.
It sounds way more appealing to me. Like when I hear Virago and I hear Nex Angel of Death, you'd probably get me to go to Nex way before Virago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Virago, there's just too many ways for you to cause the kill to fail at Virago.
Yes.
Next, I mean, yeah, you'll have to bring a yak and eat a lot and you won't get any drops because you won't be doing damage, but it won't be like, oh, you can't come because you'll fail it or whatever. So yeah, the second one is comp capes. People were not unlocking the music track, and this was happening for a lot of people, and so people weren't getting their comp capes back, which is should never happen. It's like if comp
especially if you paid for that leech, that would suck.
Right, that's the other reason that my team, like even once we kind of got good enough to sell leeches, we have not been charging just because of how obnoxious it would be, like for someone to pay us whatever amount of money we were charging, and then be like, well, hey, we got the kill for you, but sorry, you didn't get your comp cape because you didn't unlock the music track. That was also a thing.
What would you do in that instance? Would you run the person again if that happened, or was it a while before anyone even figured out that was what was causing it?
People figured out right away, because you would get the kill and it would say you have now unlocked the Reaper title.
Yeah.
And then it wouldn't say you have regained your complete K. And
that must have been driving people nuts.
People would look, and it wasn't like Yakamaru. So Yakamaru, for example, you have to make it to the final phase to unlock Yakamaru 2, which is the second music track. So if it was like that, then fine. Like, hey, the leech died on the first phase. We have to figure out how to keep them alive long enough. The music track is supposed to unlock as you enter the instance, before the fight even starts.
Yeah, it's basically the lobby music.
Right, exactly. And so really, I'm not sure what we'd have done. I mean, we certainly wouldn't have forced them to. We wouldn't have kept their money without a K bet, but at the same time, it's like we got the kill for them in the second hour of release or whatever, and most teams didn't get kills till 6 or 7 hours after release. So also it would have felt bad to just like not charge at all.
According to Zenel, he says the prelude music track does not unlock if you have the music playlist enabled. I got my kills books, but I needed to go back to get the track from the lobby area to recomp. So apparently if you have music playlist enabled, that was causing the problem.
Oh, Zenel, that's good information. Do you know if that is still the case, or has it been fixed? It seems like it was hot fixed, but I can't confirm that. I don't know if you know the answer to that, Zenel.
Yeah, if you know, let us know. I would assume that's something they could fairly easily hotfix. It sounds like a pretty silly check that would be an easy fix.
Too. And the fact that I will say the fact that was by far the worst bug on release is just a testament to how the benefits outweigh the negatives for having players test the boss first. Because I'm convinced that's the reason why. Because I don't think the Jagex team can QA test.
No, they can't.
A boss at all. Because I just honestly, like, as sad as it sounds, like in a smaller team, I just don't know if they could even get kills. Which is fine. It's they're coders, they're not hardcore PVMers or whatever.
Sure.
But I think having QA testers is precisely the reason why release of Nex was so incredibly smooth in terms of the fight mechanics.
I have no problem with testers being brought in to do that type of stuff, to make releasing a more. I've said before, I'm a huge proponent for beta servers, and beta servers probably are actually a worse idea compared to testers, because testers are actually testing, whereas beta servers people generally tend to abuse. So
yeah,
that's probably actually the best solution they could go with is testers, despite the fact that when you start bringing people behind closed doors into Jagex HQ doing those things, conspiracy theorists will start to brew. But,
Sure.
That's just a side effect of, bringing players behind closed doors and letting them see content before it's released.
I will exchange other players having an advantage for 45 minutes over myself.
Yeah.
For the fight being completable, because
for it to not be a complete buggy piece of I honestly probably would have taken testers for invention over what happened day one invention.
Absolutely. I think that's all major updates, even including scaling updates, should have people who are testers. I don't know, have I guess Alkin is Canadian, so I don't know any really famous scalers. There are definitely some. Have them test new updates. If they could, if it's OP or not good enough, then it seems like players. And I feel like major scaling updates like that should be treated that way as well. And it'd be good. But of course, PVM. It's not like PVM is getting constant testers. It's only been 2 bosses that they've ever done that
it's
for.
Something that they've started doing, and I think it's a good idea to do overall, is to have players test your game. And it's nothing wrong with that. I think it's worth the repercussions of people being like, they had an advantage, they've been conspiring, so they know exactly what to do. And I honestly, who cares? It's better to have quality game content.
If you're watching, you got lit up stream. It's not like they knew all the mechanics. They were surprised by stuff too. They were screwing stuff up, and they certainly were not doing ideal methods on release. They were
conspiracy theorists would say that they planned that all along.
Well, I guess I don't have a response to that.
But. Well, you can't reason with crazy, right? You just can't. It's impossible,
exactly.
Because there's always a disapproval argument when it comes to conspiracy theories, so you can never be 100% right.
that'd be kind of wild, purposefully make mistakes in order to make it look like you didn't know what you're doing, and then it ends up being where other teams get kills before you because you were purposely screwing up.
But you don't care because Jagex already transferred 6 max cash stacks to your bank prior for doing the testing?
Yeah, exactly.
And you're living somewhere, and you just sold all that gold on the black market, and now you're living sweet down in the Cayman Islands. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, obviously we're joking, but
yeah, definitely.
I don't know. Next, I think, is a very valuable update for the PVM community. I would just really prefer it if they would think about the game as a whole when they're doing updates like this, and try to be a little more sensitive to their other communities in the game. It just seems like, and they can still prove me wrong here, but it just seems like this game is becoming more and more focused on combat, as if it wasn't already enough. Starting with EOC and moving forward from there, it just seemed like the game become overwhelmingly combat oriented. And it unfortunately is just not a direction that I want to see the game go in, and I'm just trying to hold on to the last bastions of the game that I enjoy, and watching them slowly be eroded by PVM is honestly just making me depressed and kind of sick inside. And I don't know what to say about that, really. I don't want
I don't know how you feel about just because, like I said, this boss is so, and I mean radically more accessible. I know I'm sounding like I'm repeating myself here, but it's
okay. I am too.
It is exponentially more accessible than any other quote unquote
it sounds like they did the content better than they've ever done it before.
Yeah, so I'm wondering
I just hate RuneScape combat. You can't polish a turd for me. It doesn't matter. You can arrange the freaking chairs any way you want. The ship's still sinking. I hate combat in RuneScape. I love first-person shooter combat. I love third-person shooter combat. I love ability-based combat in games like Blade and Soul and Black Desert Online. I'm a real great sniper in some games as well. I'm not bad at fast-paced combat. I am bad at trying to not operate in real time based off of a delayed tick system on a server that I have 200 ping on. That's what I can't get behind. RuneScape combat feels shoehorned to me. It doesn't feel like it belongs in RuneScape. RuneScape feels like, if anything, it should have a turn-based combat system.
high level PVM is all about doing perfect rotations very quickly. Next is the first thing to come out in a while if you're the base of a larger team. And it could just be because we haven't figured out the rotation yet exactly to be perfect, but it's required a lot more improvisation, I think, than anything else. But to do ideal damage, it's still very much like a very specific sequence abilities in a certain order in order to maximize
And
your
that's not the kind of, and
DPS.
see, I'm not interested in that. I prefer
Yeah, and
the
I think
type of
that's fair.
combat where it's like it's more about how you move around the battlefield. Your personal, like, I can have a freaking pistol and you can have a rocket launcher. It doesn't matter if I can outsmart you, and that's not how
Yeah.
RuneScape combat works.
Well,
And I just don't
well,
like it. I'm
next
sorry.
there is a lot of movement required
And you know, and
in
again,
this
I
fight
hate the movement
to do
system in
well.
RuneScape.
Right. Yeah, you can't get around. You
If
can't get around the
RuneScape,
click to move
if
thing.
RuneScape if RuneScape would adopt like Path of Exile / Diablo style game controls, then I think I would be more apt to do combat. But with the fact that everything seems to be on a delay and everything seems to always be one step behind my brain, I can't slow my brain down anymore than the game wants me to. Like, I can't do it. I can't seem to sync my movements up with RuneScape. And I don't want this to turn into a let's complain about Magebit being bad at RuneScape combat, nor do I want this to be a remove EOC thing or anything like that. Like, I don't want to get into that.
Oh, EOC is, I think, a phenomenal combat system.
I think it's a phenomenal combat system too, but it's not made for RuneScape.
Yeah, it's the game ticks that make it hard.
Yeah, no, if you put the evolution in a combat system in Diablo or in any other game that operates on, a much smaller tick-based server side system, then I would say that the evolution of combat system is, if anything, operates just as good as any other World of Warcraft ripoff. Like, it runs perfectly fine.
The thing is, this one other nice balance thing is they made range viable at this boss, which is good. And viable seems like kind of a meme word to say, because I know like Harley, for example, loves range.
I love range too.
Likes how it looks, loves the abilities, etc. But it's been several years since range was even competitive with magic or melee in PVM. Like even approach the other two. Ranged at Nex is extremely useful, and arguably, although I still think magic is slightly better, especially for tank roles, and a little bit more versatile. I think ideal range setups might actually be preferable because the room is so huge that the long distance of the Nox longbow can be extremely helpful. Like, you could literally save a kill even if a minion is really far away from you and you have to kill it immediately. Someone with a staff couldn't hit it, but if you have a longbow, you could stun it. And also, they made mechanical Chinchampas extremely good for speeding up kills at certain phases. And also, all the minions are weak to range. So if you're a DPS and don't have good magic gear, but who prefer range, this is the first boss in a while where people will be completely fine or even happy with you bringing range. Whereas like Virago, for example, unless you're experienced, I would not want to take someone without magic.
Fair enough.
Like I remember when I took you, I was like, whatever your best magic gear is, just because it's easier for us to manage with learners just using magic, because it's just a lot simpler, and also just better at most places. So that's nice. That's nice for rangers, or for people who prefer range, or for people who want to camp all day. Because I've been using, my runic accuracy, maniacal, sharpshooter, and reckless. And by the time I've gone through all my auras, and dark magic, and by the time I've gone through all 5 of those auras, I'm back with runic accuracy again, which is really nice. At Virago, when you're doing small teams, range isn't really viable. So you kind of have to wait for your auras to recharge or buy refreshes, or you can't camp for like 15 or 16 hours straight. Although maybe I'm just kind of a degenerate and nobody really does 12, 14, 15 hours straight at PVM. So maybe that's just a me problem.
I mean, I don't know. People say that to me when I talk about 15 hours of divination. So, I think it's each their own.
Yeah, exactly.
So as far as we've had a good like almost an hour long discussion about Nex. Is there anything else that you think that we haven't touched upon that you want to get into?
Well, you mentioned earlier that you wanted me to briefly go through mechanics, and we kind of drifted to discussing skilling drop prices right after that. So if you wanted me to do that, I definitely could.
Go for it.
But if okay, sure. So basically, the current meta strategy for and I can only speak to smaller teams. I don't know what masses are doing. It seems like the strategy for mass is ignore all the mechanics and just fight the boss.
Yeah, brute force.
And eat up, which I just, like I said, just not something I'm interested in. It doesn't excite me, and I can't get into that. But for smaller teams, like 8 or fewer, first on drop down, you want to start with an onslaught, because all the DPS are not getting attacked by Nex for the first 21 seconds, and Sunshine with planted feet lasts longer than 21 seconds, so you end up wasting a lot of it. So ideally, you stall to 100 adren, have all the DPS onslaught, have the base tank debuff with vulnerability Guthix staff to make the onslaught hits higher. When 21 seconds in, Nex will do the ice special, which is to split the room into 4 quadrants. By ice, 3 will have a blood reaver, 1 will be empty. You can choose to escape the empty quadrant and not take damage in exchange for adding 20 in rage to Nex. I would not recommend this, because the base tanks will start getting hit 8, 9, 10 Ks if enrage gets too high. So it's better to just use reflect or resonance and reflect. Just use defensive abilities to keep yourself alive, and you won't take too much damage. If you don't use defensive, it's about 12k, which is fine enough to eat up through. You just eat. It's not 12k at once. It's over about 5 seconds. You could eat up and be fine, but it's definitely better to use defensives. The other 3 Reavers will start walking towards Nex. If you do not kill, they have 50,000 health. If you do not kill them before they get to Nex, she will siphon them, and whatever HP they have left will be damage dealt to the team. This is the most common way for the base tank to die, because if a Reaver gets to Nex, they can take say a 5k melee hit, 6k Reaver hit, and it's typeless, so it can't be defended. Interestingly, Entangle, which is you know that spell that was used back in the old days in the wilderness, in Entangle.
Yep.
You can entangle the minion, and it stuns it for 24 seconds. So if you're having trouble doing damage, just have someone bring entangle the minion, and you should be totally fine. And then of course range really shines, because range of course has so many stunning abilities. And so basically, if you're ranging, just stun the crap out of the minion. Then it basically will continue. It will then once again be attackable. So you want to use Sunshine. If you're not confident in your DPS, you want to save your adrenaline potion for later. If your team is very confident, then you should use adrenaline potion, and if you kill it quickly enough, it'll skip the next mechanic. If not, it'll summon these shadows, and basically you have to run around and not get hit by them. And then there'll be, for the rest of the phase, these little red orbs on the ground, and if you run into them, that'll hit you for a lot of damage. Yeah, so that's kind of mostly phase 1. The way phases work, like I said, is that it has to get to a certain health threshold. So the first phase goes from 3 mil HP to 2.1 mil HP. That cycle with the Reavers and the Shadows will continue to repeat itself over and over and over until you get it to 2.1 mil and it gets to the next phase.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, well, but my team currently has, we since release, we haven't failed to get it down. We've never had a second cycle occur. But if the DPS is really bad, it could get really ugly really fast, which is why people are massing, because if you mass, then you'll get it no matter what.
Gotcha, because of just a massive amount of damage.
Right, exactly. The next phase, it'll do another Reaver special, which you handle in the same way. Just basically, Reavers should be #1 priority. Then it'll do more Shadows. So really just avoid that. If you're in a larger team, the easiest way is just surge to the walls so that you aren't just filling the center of the room with little red bombs that people can actually walk on. But they're really easy to avoid. But you'll you could start dying to them pretty easily at first, but after like 3 or 4 kills, you just like won't ever get hit. It's just really easy to see when they're coming. So then it'll summon 4 icicles, one of each type: the blood, smoke, ice, and what's the other one? Smoke, steam. Okay, whatever. The four ancient elements, basically, and blood. That's the 4th one. Anyways, so it does that, and if you kill when the icicles spawn, they'll do a lot of damage. So you just have to not stand where they are. After you've done a kill or 2, they always spawn in the same spot, kind of near the middle at an angle, so it's not hard to avoid. You have to kill those ASAP because out of them will pop out a minion. If you kill the icicle, then the minion will have half health. If you don't, then they'll have a full 300k life points, which makes it really annoying because minions constantly stun. Like, they constantly asphyxiate and use all of the mage stunning abilities. So if you have to tank 300k health, then it can be kind of rough because you're getting stunned so much. And you can get stunned while a spec occurs that you have to move from. So the most common way people are dying right now is that they get stunned without freedom and then get a special that requires them to move, and they just can't out-eat it.
Interesting. So you can be murdered by that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Don't get me wrong. When I say accessible, I don't mean like easy. It's not.
Lol, I've done God Wars 1 going in with tier 70s.
Yeah, I mean, this is a step up from God Wars Dungeon 2 for sure. Yeah. But you have for your first time, just go with 10, 11, 12 people with at least 3 or 4 who know what they're doing, and it's fine. It's just. But don't expect it to be more difficult than like Vindicta or something. Like, you can't expect it to be easy. It's just not. It's not like impossibly hard or something.
That's good to know. I mean, I would like to do it just to give it a shot, like next week after people have had a chance to kind of play around with it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for you could come get a kill with my team anytime. Although what we're doing right now is people who are coming for 1 kill just have to agree to only come for 1 kill and agree that if we get a 1, they don't get a split. So that's what we're currently doing. Next week that could change, though. I don't know.
I more want to see it than anything else.
I mean, like I said, it is freaking gorgeous, and if I remember, you have a fairly good computer, so you could probably run it in high settings, right?
I'd be pretty pissed off if I couldn't.
Yeah, and it seems extremely well balanced with NXT. So all the people I know who have good machines are running it flawlessly with their the highest possible setting.
Cool.
Yeah. And yeah. So then you have to kill the minions. It's very important you kill them in the correct order. I'm not going to go through too much detail just because it could get boring and tedious,
Sure.
and there are videos out there, but your team should decide what order to kill them in. Different teams do it slightly differently. I think the way we do it is the best, but I'm biased. And so you kill them in a certain order, or you could surge to the middle if your team is very experienced, and just destroy them with AoEs. So chins, tsunami, detonate, stuff like that. But it's better to kill them one at a time. So it'll continue to do reverse throughout the fight. So like basically, if there's a spec, the reverse will continue to happen every certain amount of time, which is why it's important to do DPS, because if that special occurs too often, it could really mess things up. Like on the first trip I did, Nex's Enrage went all the way to 200, and she one-hit KO'd every single person on the team. Because we just couldn't survive. Well, yeah, because we just weren't doing things correctly, and we were getting way too many of those specials.
Good to know that.
Yeah, so basically the order you kill the minions in, it affects the order you kill the pigs in the final phase. So ideally, you want to kill them in a clockwise direction, so you aren't running all over the place. Or at the very least, remember the order you killed them in, and ideally, you want to do them in the order that your team feels is most deadly. So if you feel like the ice special is most deadly, kill ice first. If you feel like the blood special is most deadly, kill blood first, etc.
So pretty much just cater your kill count or this kill order to the weaknesses of your team, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of flexibility. I mean, there's big disagreement right now amongst people, whether the ice special or the shadow special is more deadly on the final phase. We feel it's the shadow special by far. But because the ice one is very easily avoided if you do it correctly, whereas the shadow special can just crush you. But that's that's our opinion, and there are people who would disagree with that. But that could just be because of the people on our team and what our strengths are, like you said. In a mass, I don't think it's relevant though. I think you just body your minion. Brute force. Who cares?
Gotcha. Good stuff overall, as far as your ability to recall all
I think
this.
it's cool. Yeah, and then so once you've cleared your minions, you'll have a chance to do a lot of damage again. And the next phase is shadows. So there'll be a little black cloud that spawns and goes into a random part of the arena. It's very important to say on TeamSpeak or Discord, at least right now, maybe later we'll be able to figure out methods without using TeamSpeak or Discord, or maybe type it in the public chat. It could just be hard because if you're you could die while typing, just because I don't know, it's just a little risky. But I think in the future it'll be fine to just type. But yeah, so you just figure that out, and then basically it does a huge amount of damage to the team if it's ignored. But if everybody runs to the cloud, it does 14,000 damage split among the people in the cloud. We did not know this at first, so we just had one person as what we were calling them the cloud tank. And we would just have somebody who had a sign of life activated just go run and tank the 14k hit, which was kind of, it was like we knew that wasn't really the method, but at the time that was literally what we were doing. We were like, okay, do you have a sign? It was like, do you have a sign? All right, go use your sign. was our method. Which is So really, if there's like 7 people in the cloud, everyone gets hit 2k. It's just 14. Like it's a 14k divided by the number of people.
Gotcha.
This is also, as with every other special, this is combined with Reavers. Once you get the HP down to clear the phase, it's like 1.2 mil at HP at this point. Then it'll move on to smoke. Smoke phase, 2 people will get a message saying you could feel smoke targeting you from the north or south, or you'll get a message saying you feel smoke targeting you from the east or west, and it's literally Vindicta's flame on steroids. That's all it is.
Super cool.
Well, but if you have the one saying you're being targeted from the north or south, you just surge to the east wall, and it'll clear it, or it'll just spawn on the east wall, and then you run back to the team. If you get east or west, you just surge to the north or south wall, and you'll clear it. But if you just stay in the center, you just kind of wreck the team. But it's the easiest mechanic by far to avoid, because literally all you have to do is, and it's a big red text message. There's no like tell or anything. It literally says you can field next targeting you from the north, or smoke targeting you from the north. And it's very, very obvious. There's both a red box that appears in the middle of your screen and a message in your chat box. So if you avoid it, it's like you're really just like not paying attention at all. So yeah. The only issue is when it's on the base tank, but then the base will usually just say, north of me or whatever, and you'll just like won't be standing north or south of them.
Okay.
So yeah, it's OP version of Vindicta Flames, but it's as if Vindicta told you, hey, I'm about to spawn flames right here.
So there is warning involved. There's time to react, is what you're saying. Where I feel like the Vindicta Flames, I almost have no time to react most of the time.
Yeah, it's very difficult to react. Honestly. I mean, the only way to really react is just to know exactly
where she's coming. Exactly. Yeah.
And but here you have about maybe 7 or 8 seconds to.
Whereas Dungeon 2 is about where my bossing abilities end.
Yeah.
So if someone said that to you, if someone said God Wars Dungeon 2 is about where my bossing abilities end, what would you say to them in regards to Angel of Death?
I would say do a mass to familiarize yourself with mechanics, and you'll have no problems whatsoever. If you just want your comp cape and don't want to actually learn it, I'll ask my team if we can bring you for a kill. No promises to keep you alive. If you're not paying, we're not going to intercept you, but as long as you eat up, you won't die.
Interesting.
And bring a sign of life. That's what I'd say.
I'll bring a few.
I think whereas yeah, I mean it's much more survivable and much easier than normal mode Virago for someone who has no experience, I would say. So.
Yeah, I think I'd make it through a mass. I would just activate my what is it? The ward of Ixthelb, I think.
Yeah,
and then I'd be able to die like 3 times if I brought my own aura as well.
The leeches we've done, and we've only, like I said, we've only done free so far, just in case we make a mistake. In my opinion, it's unacceptable to ever fail a leech if someone's paying you. It's just like, in my opinion, you should give a refund immediately if you fail. I just don't think it's okay to charge people money and then screw up. But that's just a me thing. But yeah, just in case we mess up, because we still make mistakes, we've only done it for free, and we just said, bring your Desert Pantheon aura if you have it. And if you get the instant kill, don't even attempt to clear it. Just let yourself sign. And so that's been fine.
So
and so far, including somebody who the hardest boss they've ever done is God War's dungeon is Armadillo and Krill for Slayer tasks. They got their kill first attempt. So and that was with our team. I would say the place I took Zenel to was like a mass where nobody knew what they were doing, and I'm pretty sure Zenel got a kill like 3rd attempt or something.
Yeah, it sounds like he was able to get it pretty quickly.
Yeah, and that was like literally nobody knew what was going on. So it's really not that complicated. Or I shouldn't say because it is extremely complicated in terms of the details, but surviving is not complicated, if that makes sense.
Okay. So, in finality here, is there any closing thoughts that you want to bring up in regards to this boss?
No, I mean, I just want to say, like, I think it's the best PVM update since I've been a member. So that's like around when Pyrnassius came out, so like October of 2014. It's by far the most fun boss to come out since then. Virago was 2013, which has been my favorite boss up to now. It's more accessible than raids because Yakamaru, Beastmaster's totally fine. I'll take anyone to Beastmaster. Yakamaru, totally different story. Harder to survive as DPS. Easier.
Coordination's a real big thing with Yakamaru, right?
Yeah. Very easy to cause the kill to fail at Yakamaru. If you don't know what you're doing or you aren't being told what to do.
Yeah.
Easier to die. All kinds of stuff. But
see, why couldn't they have just done a nice little joke when raids came out, where they would, with the planks, was it, I think, or the buckets of sand, I forget what the joke was, where they made people fill up their inventories with useless items. I think it was buckets of sand for Yakamaru.
Yeah, there were 2 people, one person in charge of bringing buckets of sand, one in charge of bringing planks.
Yeah. See, that was funny. That is funny. Lying about the drops, not funny. See, there's an example of a funny thing to do to people on launch of a boss, and an example of a not funny thing to do to people.
Yeah.
There you go. I feel like I've made my point. I have nothing more to say.
I can see that it would have been basically no difference to me personally if they just kept it secret or did what they did, but I accept that it would have been much better to just be secretive about it, because then there's no harm. There's no harm in being like, we aren't releasing details on weapons or whatever.
I mean, generally they don't make stuff up. They're just like, we can't say say that's going to happen. We can't say it's not going to happen. But anyway, I've beat that horse to death, and I won't beat it any further at this point. Again, so you say it's the best PVM update in a long time. I'm glad to hear that, and
certainly the most aesthetically pleasing. If you wanted to, something you could definitely do no matter what, and anyone can do this if you want to, feel free to bring an Orb of Oculus, or if you have really high draw distance, use that. But if I remember correctly, Orb of Oculus is better. Anybody could come watch us do a kill if you want to see, because the masses, you don't see a lot of the mechanics, and it goes so quickly that you can't really tell what's going on. But if you want to see and I won't say perfect kill because we're not perfect yet, but if you want to see what like a pretty good consistent kill looks like in person, because I know streaming sometimes there's like delays or it's
laggy. Let me just go in there with an Oculus and I'll stream you guys doing it.
You can totally feel free. You could absolutely feel free to do that, and you could even come on TeamSpeak with us, as long as you aren't too. as long as you aren't like super. We had one person do that, and they would just not stop talking. It was just like, okay, we're like trying to coordinate things. You keep interrupting us. So it was like so we didn't invite them back again. As long as, but yeah, feel free to ask questions, whatever. As long as you aren't constantly talking.
I would probably record it and then play it back afterwards, and then bring up my points that way. So I don't interfere. But anyway, enough about me. Anything else you want to bring up before we end this show and segment?
You could totally do that. Yeah, sure. I mean, I have a whole lot else to say that's not just like endless bells or whatever. But yeah, I loved it. I think it's pretty. I think the music's awesome. I think the sound is excellent. Yeah, really, 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 really happy with it. Way more happy with it than I thought I possibly could be.
Cool. I'm really glad to hear that. Just because I'm glad to know that at least the community that, got the update are enjoying it, and it's not like a failure on all fronts. So that's really good to know that it's well received by the PVM community as it is. And I'm happy for you all. And I think that's pretty much going to wrap up this episode of RuneScape Weekly. And, of course, we'll more than likely be back on Friday for another edition of RuneScape Weekly. But until then, you can find us on social media. We got a Facebook page for you, facebook.com/RSWeekly. I forgot how to read there for a second. Twitter @RSWeekly. Got a Discord for you as well. Discord.runeweek.com is the place you can go to get the invite code for our Discord. If you could, please take the time to rate us and review us on iTunes or whatever podcast aggregator you use to obtain the show. And if you could, please, like the video on YouTube, as well as subscribe and leave comments if you'd like to get involved in the discussions. I really do appreciate that as well. And if you're watching live, please like the live stream as well. And thank you very much for coming out live. Love to have a live audience to chat with. It's pretty sweet. Also, if you want to join us in-game, you can go to Clan Chat, Kill, Skill, and Chill, or clan.runeweek.com if you want to hang out with us that way. And if you want to help us out, we got a Patreon page for you as well, patreon.com/RuneScape. Also got a PayPal for you as well, paypal.me/RSW for a one-time donation. Or if you want to tip us while we're live, you can go to tip.runeweek.com, and that will set off all of our tip alerts and whatnot and fancy stuff. And you can leave a comment and all that fun stuff. So that's tip.runeweek.com to tip us when we are live. If you want, also we got a shop for you as well, shop.runeweek.com. You can go there and get past seasons of RuneScape Weekly, as well as commissioned live streams and videos for the channel, all using your Magebucks, which you can obtain by watching the show live or collecting the Magebucks code after the fact, logging into our website and saving them up. So check that out at shop.runeweek.com, all purchasable by just hanging out and watching the show with us. You can also check out our upgrades list at upgrades.runeweek.com. Help us build our new studio here. We're going to start building in March, so we got the remainder of February to do so. Upgrades.runeweek.com. Thank you very much for your support with that. And a big special thanks to all of our Patreon top supporters, including Molly RS, Swagatorix, Alex W, Danny H, Kevin H, Odin, Old Gunner, Hamster King, Sudwood, Godly Fury, and big thank you to our upgrade list from Colton, Plague Doc, and Death Star so far. Thank you very much for your support in our upgrade process. So anyway, that's going to do it for this edition of RuneScape Weekly. We'll be back on Friday for another edition of RuneScape Weekly, so see you then. And as always, happy scaping. Unless you're a skiller.